just got out of the theaters from seeing the amazing digital Circus, the last act on the big screen. And we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this film, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the movie review. Let's go. The amazing digital Circus, the last act, is an animated dark comedy with psychological horror elements, and inside of this film we see this last act combines episode 8 with the all-new hour-long episode 9 for fans to see before anyone else in the world. With Kane gone and the circus dark, the cast are left with only the mistakes and traumas of their past to keep them company. As the prospect of eternity closes in around them, they discover the truth about the digital circus and its history. Will they come to terms with what they uncover, or will they make the other choice? Now, before going into this movie, I had no idea what this was at all. Okay, I had never heard about the amazing digital Circus, and come to find out, it is this viral internet series. You could watch all of the episodes on YouTube, episodes 1 through 8, and this thing has like over 400 million views just on the pilot alone. Now, the first episode released back in October 2023, and apparently it is currently the biggest pilot of an animated series ever. Okay, with, like I said, over 400 million views, an insane number there. So this caught my attention right away. Okay, my little brother brought this to my attention, and so before going in to see this film, I went ahead and caught up. Okay, I read as much as I could read about it, and I went in with no expectations whatsoever, just not really realizing what I was walking into. Okay, this was a completely brand new experience for me, and to be honest, I was thoroughly surprised with what I got to see take place here. And for this movie, they took episode 8 and combined it with the brand new episode 9, which has never been seen before. It was actually released in theaters, and they combined the two to make this a theatrical length full feature film for the fans to view, you know, this final episode in theaters. And so this was unlike anything I've ever seen before. It was completely unique, and because of that, we have to talk about it, we have to discuss it. So let's go ahead and get to my positives for the amazing digital Circus, the last act. And for my first positive with this film, we have to talk about the cast. We have to talk about this collection of characters here because they're extremely unique. Okay, and we have to begin with Pomni. Now, Pomni is our main character here. Her digital appearance is that of like a jester. It's a very unique design, as all of these characters are. This entire film is. And with Pomni being this sort of fish out of water character, diving into this digital realm, this digital world, who in the first episode she just happens to appear in, not knowing how she got there, and throughout the duration of these episodes is trying to find a way to get out of this hellish landscape that is taking a toll on her mind, which is where those psychological thriller / horror elements come into this film. We'll talk about those a little bit more later on. But yeah, I loved seeing this character trying to hold it together in this place, trying not to lose her mind, while also trying to relate with these other people that she's meeting in this digital space and come up with a plan to get the hell out of here. Okay, that is the main goal here for our cast of characters, and this was a character that definitely stood out to me. You could feel that she's the main character, along with two other characters that I really want to highlight here, that being Jax. Okay, now Jax was definitely a huge highlight inside of this film. This character stood out to me. The dark psychological nature of this character that you get to dive into inside of this film, it was insane. You know, I went in thinking this is going to be a kid's family movie because that's what it's listed as if you search this up, but with how dark they made this character, it really didn't feel like that, honestly. And they dive into his psychology, they dive into his mind, they dive into what drives this character, what makes him tick, what traumas does he have in his past life, tons of things that I didn't expect, a level of depth that I did not expect out of what's supposed to be a children's movie. And I loved seeing Jax just express this psychotic nature to his character. He's also kind of fallen in love with this place because of that escapism that this digital world offers. And he definitely crosses the line and crosses the boundaries throughout the duration of these final 2 episodes, and I found that fascinating. Okay, now the final main character that I want to talk about is the antagonist of this film and of this entire series, that being the Ringmaster Kane. Now, Kane is this AI who was programmed into this place. He is the architect of this place. He controls what happens. He controls everything they see displayed to them. Okay, he makes them go on adventures they don't want to go on. And he pretty much just uses these real life people who were transported to this digital world as a way of just expressing himself. He uses them as like his playthings. Okay, this is playtime for him at the end of the day, because he is just this AI program. He doesn't really value human life. So because of that, we see him tormenting and torturing these characters, putting them through hellish scenarios as, like I stated, they are constantly trying to figure out a way to escape without the ringmaster finding out. I also love that psychotic nature for the Kane character, seeing him snap throughout different moments inside of these episodes, inside of this movie. And at the end of the day, this being a complex character because he was programmed to do this, right? He was an AI program. He was programmed to do this. He's like, I'm doing what I was programmed to do. Why don't they love me? Why don't they appreciate me? Why aren't they thankful for this position that I've put them in when this is literally what I was programmed to do? This is all I know. And so he has to go through his own character arc inside of this film and discover more about what exactly he is, being this AI program and not really able to relate truly to these other human characters that are occupying his digital world. Now, on top of those characters that really stood out to me, there are some other ones, okay, that do leave an impression and stay in your mind, right? That being Kinger, Argangle, Arzubal, other characters like that. There's multiple of them. Okay, there's actually a lot of characters here throughout this series, but in terms of my favorite and the ones that I really wanted to address, it would definitely be those three main characters: our protagonist, our antagonist, and then Jax, for sure. Now let's go ahead and move into my other positives with this film, and that would be the voice acting. I think the voice actors do a great job at giving a believable performance to the audience, at making us care about these characters and what they're going through, at making their trauma believable just through the impact of their voice throughout this film, right? You truly believe, like, okay, this character has gone through some psychological damage. A lot of these different characters, especially Jax, again, that was kind of the highlight of this movie, and I think it's definitely a standout point when it comes to this film. Now, as far as other positives that I have with this movie, it would have to be that it appeals to all generations, which I think something like a Masters of the Universe kind of failed to do, which we just did a movie review on that. Once you're done watching this video, make sure you go check out my Masters of the Universe review right here and go see what we had to say there in that video, okay? But in terms of appealing to all generations, it manages to do that here, okay? This film was a lot more teen to adult oriented than I expected it to be. And then it also draws in that younger demographic, children, through the use of animation and these kooky looking characters, right? So it manages to, like I said, attract and draw in and appeal to a list of generations here, which I found amazing. I found that brilliant that the movie actually managed to achieve this, and they do this through the use of, one, swearing, right, cuss words, things like that, which they censor throughout it, but you can tell what they're saying. You can tell what cuss words they're using. They just put a big censor bar, and then they have an in-world like canon reason as to why they're being censored, that being the ringmaster Kane doesn't want them saying these words, and he kind of built this whole digital world around them. So when they try to swear, they get censored. But they are swearing throughout this movie, so that surprised me a lot. That was one way that they try to appeal to like an older demographic, right, a more mature demographic. But on top of that, the themes here, right, this movie had a darkness that I did not expect. Okay, when we dove into, like I stated before, that psychological nature of our characters, their past, their traumas, that was very surprising. That was a level of depth that can appeal to an older audience. So I definitely appreciated those elements throughout this film. And on top of that, this movie was a lot more emotional than I expected it to be. This was a very emotional finale for these characters, right? You really got to find out and discover who our main characters are at their core, what makes them tick, and who they truly are at the end of the day. So I found that all interesting. I'm thoroughly surprised that they managed to achieve that, but I'm also happy and glad because it made this series, and especially this finale as a whole, able to be interesting to me on some level, and I appreciated that level of darkness there. Okay, and don't let this colorful world fool you. You'll go in here thinking, man, what the hell is this, you know? very colorful, very ridiculous looking characters, but when you watch it and you realize how dark this can truly get, it fools you a bit, it tricks you a bit, and I like that those elements are inside of this movie. Now, on top of that, this movie touches on themes of identity, of escapism, of mental health, which again is something you would not expect out of this series and walking in to see this film. Now let's go ahead and discuss my final positive when it comes to this film, and it would have to be how unique it is, okay? It would have to be the animation, because the animation is unlike anything I would ever expect out of a feature-length film, out of an animated film. Again, you are in this digital world. It is very colorful, very vibrant. The concept is very strange, very weird, but they somehow make it work. It's creative, it's experimental, and I can only commend the film for that. It is definitely outside of the box here from what you would expect out of a movie like this, and I definitely liked those elements. Now, all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and move over into my negatives when it comes to the amazing digital circus, The Last Act. And for my one and only negative with this film, because to be honest, I don't have many, I only have one, and it kind of stems off the back of my last positive that we discussed and talked about, that being the weirdness here, the animation. Because to be honest, while I do want to applaud it for its creativeness, for its experimentalness, for how unique this concept in this world is, right? It's extremely unique. At the same time, it really doesn't appeal to me. I don't really like this animation style. It's not something I would prefer. It's not something I would gravitate to, which is again at first why this was kind of throwing me off here, but it's the story that really won me over when it comes to this film. So if I had to have a negative, if I had to have a nitpick really is what this is, it would definitely be the animation. I do appreciate something that's a little more traditional that I could appeal to a little bit more. Like I said, it's not for me personally, but I do think it definitely has its audience, as we could see with how big this movie is. And all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and move into my overall review for the amazing digital circus, The Last Act. Now, when it comes to this film, guys, like I said, it's over the top, it's a weird concept, it's very unique, it's colorful, it's vibrant, there's a lot of positives here, okay? There's a lot of fluff and things like that that can draw you into this movie, especially I could see for a younger audience. But what really won this movie over for me is the fact that it manages to bridge the gap. Okay, it's the fact that through all of its colorfulness and appealing to children that it definitely does, it also manages to appeal to adults, to appeal to teens, and you know, people who have gone through things in their life. It touches on the hard things, it dives into the deep psychology, okay, the past traumas and things like that. I loved all of those elements here. I love this level of darkness here. I love the censored swearing, that they do use their one swear word that they were allowed to still make the rating for this film eventually, which I found interesting, and that at the end of the day, they managed to make an actual movie with a legitimate story, with an actual message that it wanted to convey to its audience and to its viewers, and themes that got a lot darker in nature than I expected it to, but they did a great job exploring it and managing to convey it to its audience. So all that being said, guys, if I had to rate this film, I would give the amazing digital circus, The Last Act, a 8 out of 10. It gets the 8 out of 10 for me. Like I said, this animation is not really my cup of tea. This isn't something that I would naturally gravitate to, but in actually giving it a chance and watching it, I love a lot of what they had to do here. I forgot to mention the animator, okay, the director of this film, we could say. Now, this movie was created by the director Cooper Smith Goodwin, who goes by the name online of Gooseworx, okay? That's the animator for this film. They came up with the concept, they created these characters and everything, they animated all of it, and I'm guessing they just really hired voice actors for the most part. So fascinating concept. Couldn't commend this person more. Shout out to Cooper Smith Goodwin for all you've managed to achieve. Okay, this is sitting at like a 94% audience score. Clearly, this is appealing to the fans who appreciated this series, and this was a successful finale here. So I couldn't be more happy for the people who actually gravitate towards this and enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this review. Those are my thoughts on the amazing digital circus, The Last Act. Let me know your thoughts on this film down in the comment section down below. If you don't know what we do here on Got Any, we do film, TV, and pop culture based content. So if you're interested in this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.